Morning all. So just a very quick one today. So this is going to be a little bit about task 2 of the 3D modelling prep that we are looking at for the next couple of weeks. I'm going to go through the task with you. You'll have access to the Google Doc that I'm going through on this video, on the email and in the description of the video as well, just to go through and then I'll make sure that you understand what you need to do in terms of outcomes, what you need to submit, and by when. So it's a little bit of a shorter one, you'll be pleased to know, but that does mean you've got a shorter deadline, which you'll probably not be as pleased about. But let's get into it. So let's jump across to my second display. Let's just zoom in a bit. Sorry, I thought I'd done that, but I hadn't. All right, so you've got a bit of blurb there just to remind yourself about the scenario, but we'll jump straight into task 2 because that's just copied and pasted from the document you've seen already. So task 2, when you are recreating imagery, you need to consider the ethical and legal issues that might come up as you're making your bits and pieces. And these might be copyright issues on representation. It might be on what it looks like, what logos are used, what the shape and style of something is, and all of those considerations. Ethical issues come into a little bit more about is it appropriate, is it representing kind of what it needs to in a decent way, and different kind of elements like that. It's a tricky thing to talk about when we haven't got a specific example because you've all chosen different things. So I'm going to use one example as I go through the questions for you. Hopefully that will help you attach to something that you've been looking at. If you've got any questions, then obviously email us back and we will go through it one-to-one in that way. All right. So, but we're going to look at some considerations of copyright in this one. So it's nice and simple. It's just a written task. So you've got 3 questions that I want you to go through. They've pretty much got a word count for each one, so you know roughly on how much you should be writing. You can do it handwritten and take photos of it and send it through to us, or you can type it up and submit the Google Doc or the Word doc, whatever is easiest for you. Okay, so there's a number of ways that you can do it and you can work through it. All right, so question 1, this is just a definition task, so it's nice and simple. There's not a word count to this one, just as clear and as precise a definition as you can. And the question is, what is copyright? All right, so I want you to research and find out what copyright is. Cite some gaming examples if you can find them. Cite some examples that might link to what you're looking at in your rooms and in your layout and that side of things, and see what you can come up with. So research and write up a definition of copyright laws and why they might apply to your work. Ensure these are your own words and not a copy and pasted answer. All right, so you can cite some websites that you go to. You can cite some copyright laws and acts. Don't write out the whole law or anything like that. You can just give me the headlines and we can go from there. All right, but the question is nice and simple. What is copyright? Just so that you know what you're talking about as you're going through. Question 2, highlight what elements of your chosen objects you think are specifically something that you need to watch out for when it comes to copyright. All right, and I've put the examples above, and I don't know if I have cut and paste those in. No, it doesn't have anything I have. All right, so where it says see examples above, what it means is see examples that I'm about to go through now. All right, so let's just jump back to my full display. There we go. So I showed you when I was sketching before my headphones. Okay, one wasted it. Okay, so nothing kind of too much to worry about those. You've got some standard stuff on there that you wouldn't need to worry about, but you have got some stuff on there that you do need to think carefully about when it comes to copyright. This is a nice simple one. There you go. Nice big fat logo of Sony on the right and on the side of them. Okay, so if you were thinking carefully about what you were creating, what you were developing, you wouldn't be able to just drop something in with a Sony logo without getting their permission to use it, without getting the okay to reproduce that in that form. Okay, and you might have seen knockoff headphones and different items and bits and pieces like that where they tweak the logo and they change the word ever so slightly so that they can work it through. Okay, so I want you to look at the objects that you've chosen. Now, it doesn't necessarily need to be every single object that you've picked out of your mind map, but a few of the different ones to help you reach that word count. So you've got some examples of maybe the shape of something. Is it a specific shape and style that you think you might need to consider would be under copyright? Is it a logo? If it's something that's got a design or someone's face on it or anything like that? Is that something that you would need to consider? See what you can come up with. Okay, you've got question 1 detailing what is copyright. See what examples you can come up with about areas that you might need to be careful of within the objects that you've chosen. All right. You're not giving me solutions just yet. So question 2 is I only would need to be careful of my headphones, because my headphones are branded and they've got a logo and they've got a specific design on them which represents the company. If I was to recreate these, I would need to, I would need to be aware of that, because it leads into question 3. You can see question 3 and probably where it's going to go. What could you do to change your design slightly to avoid any copyright concerns? All right. And again, ensure you're looking at specific items. You can link them to the ones that you've just spoken about in question 2 and detail your changes and why you think you could avoid any copyright concerns by changing them. All right. So question 2 is about just going through and listing and detailing what you think you should be wary of and concerned about when you are recreating something in terms of copyright laws. And question 3 is what could you do as you are recreating those, you are redesigning them in a 3D form. What could you do to maybe get around those copy laws, or just kind of navigate them a little bit more? So it might be changing a logo and changing the font of the logo and changing the wording slightly. It might be changing the form and the style and the colours that are used. It might be using something that's a bit more generic in terms of people's faces or anything like that that you might have. Okay, so there's a few ideas there that you can look at, but you need to choose specific items that you've already started working on in task 1 from your setup, your room, your mind map that you've done. Okay, so you've got all of that detail in there. So question 1, question 2, question 3 are all in the document there about what you need to go through. If you're not sure on anything, then just email us and we'll go through it. Your outcomes are there, nice and easy. It's just typed up or a handwritten response, please. You've got word count for 2 of them. The copyright one is a little less than the other 2, I would suggest, but get us a clear and precise definition using some sources all the way through to back you up. Make sure it's all your own words. Please don't plagiarise anything. It wastes our time and your time. So just put it into your own words and quote all your references and everything. Deadline for this is quite a short turnaround. That's why I'm pinging it out to you today, so that if you've done your other work that's due for today, then you can crack on with it. Wednesday at the end of the day, okay? So that you can buzz through and complete that and get it ready, all right? The next task that follow this, task 3, is going to be a little bit longer. So we're going to give you a bit more time on task 3 because there's a bit more involved to it. Okay, so that is task 2, and we are going through looking at the different prep stages that we are slowly working our way through for 3D modelling that represents a little bit of the work that we're going to do in the upper 6th when we return. Okay, that's it from me today. Hope you're all well. Stay safe, and I will speak to you soon.